Alright, I know it's a little late or early. We're just going to make this one midnight, so it is now 2:25:22. 12:01 a.m. is the starting point, but we're getting started a little bit early. You're listening to 33rd Degree, Lucifer Tim. I'll be right back. Notifications are back on, thanks to all the supporters, text message alerts, and everything. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and read all comments tonight. No censorship. East Coast Late Night, AJ206. Jungle Jim. Santos Bonachos scheduled a Saturday night special on the benefits of aged urine. Manna from Heaven, it's titled. Joined by Patrick78. Yeah, I figured it'll take a few minutes for everybody to drop in here. I mean, it's late. Like I said, usually we start a couple hours earlier than this, but good news. We're back on. Internet's prepaid. I have an extremely high internet bill, but no, we are on 24/7 for the next, well, at least couple of months. I don't see any downtime. Getting a little more structured, so if you have a hard time finding us, you don't know when, or you don't get the alerts or whatever, text message alerts are going back out, but you can also just count on a regular schedule. Mornings and evenings. Now, mornings aren't going to be 2 hours like they have been lately. Mornings are just meant for recording a couple of things, usually interviews. Sometimes we do, well, other things. But my point is, it's the evenings where we do the open phones. Joined by Travis Feep, Rome. And by the way, we're also on Float and Rumble now. Thirst for Truth here with the popcorn. Yeah, Rumble. So Rumble also auto imports all of our archives. So again, no reason not to be able to keep up anymore. It's way past censorship. You know, they have other things on their hands right now. You know, you got the Putin coming out and curing COVID. So, you know, shout out to Putin. That didn't take long. And I've been saying here, it's like, they might as well just tell us, you know, put the masks over your tailpipes, because they went straight from COVID, social distancing, and masking to we got to save the climate. In fact, I think John Kerry's Skull and Bonesman came out saying something about he hopes that Putin maintains a certain level of, I guess, climate change compliance with all of his actions. So keep your carbon footprint small. Yes, Putin cured COVID. That was dropped in our Discord server. In fact, if you haven't joined our Discord server, and if you just joined any of our member sites, I sent out a Discord link. Just clip it. And yeah, that was posted by Fepe Online. Yep. Putin cured COVID. Let's see. This is something from yesterday, or 2 days ago. I had 2 fatigue because of all the 2s, but the whole month has been about mirrors, the number 2. And on 222, you had 2 Black Hawk helicopters crashing in Fork Canyon. You had so many incidents of just pairs. And again, a mirror is obviously a play on words, because the killing was a mirror of the Floyd killing in a number of significant ways, notably the timestamp. 846, 648. They're number games. But anyway, this meme popped up in my feed. On the left, the what would you call this person? They wear the animal pajamas. A Furby or a furry says, "Oh my God, the angels are talking to me because the microwave has 222 on it." To which the microwave responds, "Bitch, I'm a microwave." And that's kind of how I was feeling by the end of the 22nd. I mean, I get it. Pluto, conjunct, back to 1776, a big Kanye West CERN ritual to open the portal to Hades. And it is about Hades. Pluto is Hades. They open the gates of hell. And that whole ceremony for Donde Tu tells you what's coming. In fact, I believe I've decoded a lot of it. Specifically, the involvement of Marilyn Manson. Highly symbolic. Marilyn Manson connects to this Charles Manson helter-skelter narrative. And moreover, Manson might even be a reference to the sun in the sign of Aquarius. So there's some very interesting connotations there. I've been referring to it as Kanye West world. And the whole burning of the house, Westworld, also the TV show, is also significant in this conversation, which we'll get to. But I think that the ritual is about the destruction of Western Civ, Western civilization, Western chauvinism, burning down the West. And the other part of it is that this 1776 conjunct with Pluto, I think, signifies that right now the schism, the split, the crack is between two worldviews. Are we going back to 1776, like Alex Jones said? 1776 will come back if you try to take our guns. Or are we going to 1619, the 1619 project, which is where BLM is directing, the Marxist front group. 1619 is when they figured that the first slaves arrived, the transatlantic slave trade, so they're suggesting that we are leaving out a significant part of American history by starting with 1776. But what I'm positing is that you're looking at one of these dialectics here. 1619, world communism. 1776, independence. And that's what we're facing right now. That's the crack. And so then the Kraken, and all this talk about the Kraken over the last year, the Kraken, the crack pipes, and now they're actually passing out crack pipes, it comes to this. Because it's Hades/Pluto that releases the Kraken. So they open that up. Crack pipes on the streets, not a coincidence. It's all part of this mimetic info warfare. But you can pretty much see the script now, and there's plenty more. In fact, I was looking at this TV show on Netflix called Inside Job, and there's an episode, a Flat Earth episode, where Jeff Bezos is killed. He's on his yacht, and he's killed by, of all things, and think of the significance of this, a Kraken. Jeff Bezos is eaten by a Kraken at the end. Now, the Kraken is the thing that destroys what? The Tower of Babel. This global warming inducing political and economic system that's the bane of the entire world that they have been telling us, don't look up is about this, Moonfall's about this. It's about space communism as a necessity because the Earth can't handle capitalism with the abundance of space and unlimited resources and the advent of trillionaires. They can't have that. So yeah, they had Bezos killed by a Kraken at the end of the episode. Fascinating. Anyway, it's called Inside Job. It's meant to make fun of conspiracy theorists. We all know it's damage control. Lorenza Brown says, me and my wife listen to you every day. Awesome, appreciate it. And we're going to be on 24/7. I'll be more engaged with the network in terms of notifications on the screen. I'll be in the chat. We're just getting such great intel, from the collective of Penguin Audio out there. And it's really the reason why I think the powers that be have been adverse to having this Discord, this think tank. If you're part of our Discord server, you see our research and how we just pull it together, throwing puzzle pieces onto the table 24/7. And what I envision for the think tank, the chat room, is that we do the same thing here. It's just out interacting with the public. But yeah, Kanye West world. And Kanye West has a kid named Northwest, very significant. And then you had that Northwest Tower that burned on 1/9, the 19 story, initially reported 19 dead. And one of our reporters went there, and it was indeed the number 42 fire engine, reference to Washington, but it was space heaters that started the fire. Space wars, space heaters, global warming. This is all connected to the I can't breathe. Space heaters, a symbol of inequity. The poor can't breathe because the rich have screwed up the atmosphere, and climate change necessitates extreme measures like space heaters. It's all scripted. That's why you have Brother Mason Benjamin Crump defending that family too, or those families. I can't breathe is code for this communist revolution. It's actually code for a better China. And I was thinking too, build back better. We've been spelling it lowercase and then replacing the lowercase b's with sixes. 666, build back better, more consistent with the World Economic Forum. But I was also thinking, well, we'll go into all the symbology later, but there is sort of a 222 tie-in when you get into their numerology system. And it's theirs, not ours. We're not the ones encoding this stuff. We're not the witches and warlocks with OCD, like the vampire on Sesame Street, who is compulsively counting everything all the time. Joined here by Marve, River of Junk, Clockwork 113 in Rome. Hey, I also want to point out, my internet bill here is crazy. Everything as far as running the channel is a little expensive at times. But since we have a Patreon, we keep this thing going, and it's completely and 100% independent. We are not funded by the Jesuits. I am not a Jesuit gatekeeper, as some have suggested. Not that I'm offended. I mean, I might understand where they're coming from, because you don't attack their particular bad guy. They think you're one of them, or you're defending them. But anyway, thanks to the supporters of this channel, we have our text messages back on. Everything's running smoothly. So if you pitched in this morning, I appreciate it, because otherwise I would be doing stuff that I like but unrelated. You know, other jobs, writing, editing, painting. And I'm trying to stay focused on this at this time, because there's so much happening right now. And also those who don't contribute. It's all about really contributing your ideas, your time, and contributing to this deconstruction of the greatest deception / show of our lives. All right, let us continue. So many headlines I want to skim through here. You could just kind of read the zeitgeist. And this is fascinating. So on the 22nd, and this is still Mirror Week. Every day this week is a palindrome. And what do they call it? An ambidrome? Ambigram? The way you flip it and it's the same thing? Okay, so Elon Musk tweets this out at 5:10 a.m. on the 22nd. It's the symbol of Saturn, just by itself. Why would he do that? Well, it's because this is how the elite reference the number. I mean, Saturn is referenced by the elite. This is their main god. But generally, Musk throws out the number 42. The number 42 is an occult reference. It's basically sigilized into the symbol of Saturn. They're synonymous with one another. So for him to throw the symbol of Saturn out there just by itself, no explanation, is sort of one of these quirky, enigmatic things you would expect of your Martian Pope. Overthought says, I thought you went to a Jesuit high school. No, that was Jesuit Jerry. Although the school I went to was on a street called Loyola, which is the name of the founder, Ignatius, who, founded the Jesuit order. But no, I wasn't. In fact, I was a truant. I was the type of student that would skip class to go to the library because I was bored with the curriculum. I was usually in summer school to make up. So anyway, let's see. Rome says, what's the best way to donate so you get the full amount? Yeah, it's definitely difficult with this system of, the e-grabblers. Everybody takes a fee, but it's a service fee. But, whatever you choose, for the most part, I just recommend that people go to Ko-Fi, which puts your super chat message on the screen, and it also gets you on the mailing list and gets you into Discord. I should mention that. If you donate on Ko-Fi, where it gives you the super chat message on the screen, it does, in fact, give you instant access to the Discord server. I'll make a note of that in the newsletter so you can get in if you haven't been. Frank Zen, been out of the loop for a while, making my way back, joined by Cubstar as well. Okay, let's continue. I'm going through some very important things I had earmarked, like this. So this is a thumbnail from September 21st, 2021. Gabby Persephone's Equinox Trip to Hades. Hashtag van life. Now, this is where I started noticing the number 22. It started actually right before this with Unity 22, which was the mission Richard Branson took into space. And then a lot of people were saying, hey, it's the 22nd anniversary of JFK Jr.'s crash on 7/16/21. So the number 22 was really going out there. Then Gabby Petito, 22, has her event where Brian Laundrie or brain laundry, brainwashing. She gets more or less kidnapped and disappears. They find her body as we go into the autumn equinox, the 22nd. So what I was pointing out here was the way she was represented. Gabby Petito, again, was a Sandy Hooker. What I mean is a part of the collective of actors making money off of this psyop here by basically prostituting themselves for the world fascist takeover, crisis acting, getting people to move away from Second Amendment because they believe that guns kill people, not people kill people. But the point is, Gabby Petito was part of that psyop, and so there's no reason to think that this is anything other than a psyop. And so we looked at it from that perspective, and the story kind of tracks along with Virgo, or Persephone rather. Persephone is Virgo personified. So here you have this spring maiden kidnapped and taken to Hades. It's this storyline that goes along. You look at the picture, you have Gabby holding what looks to be a small fruit or a pumpkin, a knit pumpkin, looking very much like a character out of I, Pet Goat in the underworld, which is where Persephone goes when she's kidnapped. So anyway, I called this Gabby Persephone's Equinox Trip to Hades. So this ties into the present right now, and if you look there, you have Hades with his two-pronged, it's called a bident, like Joe Bident. Just add a T on there. And by the way, Hades' colors, he's associated with purple because he's deep into the mineral wealth of the world, and he's basically a god of wealth, more than a reaper type, even though he's an underworld. So the purple was also used to bathe the stage at Dawn Day 2 before the thing started. They had a portal, color purple. All of this very significant. And what's more, that album was produced by Future, who also goes by Pluto, which is Hades. So that 2-2 ritual thing with Kanye West is very significant because, again, we're looking at this story. And Kanye West, importantly, was the Burning Man. As in, the Burning Man festivals out there in Black Rock City that they had for 33 consecutive years, well, they stopped for COVID. 2021, they didn't have it, except virtually, although an Antifa couldn't throw the Molotov cocktail far enough, had actually set himself on fire, so that counts. On the dates. But on the date that you would have had the Burning Man, Kanye had the Donda release party where he sets himself on fire. He did the Phoenix thing. All of this, again, as you'll see, connects to right now. So I'm just looking at this Gabby Persephone kind of tie-in where they typecast her as Virgo by having her pose in front of a mural with wings, one leg cocked. Looks exactly like the symbol. Okay, so now we'll continue. And this ties into the Pluto ritual, specifically Marilyn Manson's role here. I'm going to go through some comments as well. Just heads up here, I am eyeballing the comments, and I'll be opening up phones here shortly. Frank Zen says, have you seen the Malaysia flight resurfacing? Some guy says he knows where it is. Yeah, I remember when Don Lemon said it went into a black hole. One of the dumbest things he said. Don Lemon. I'm surprised he's still on TV. They got rid of the Cuomos. I mean, this is the same media that laughs at people who suggest the Earth isn't a ball because the space movies are all so phony. I mean, I'm sorry, the NASA footage is so phony. Don Lemon asks if a black hole could have swallowed the missing jet. Yep. Black hole theory. Maybe I can get an audio bite here. Yeah, here we go. CNN's Don Lemon, black hole theory could explain the missing jet. Now this is science, or a true believer. And it's important to point out that not believing establishment media science is not unscientific. Believing it is by definition unscientific because they don't present you with evidence. Establishment media science is pretty much the trust me kind. Oh, that guy's wearing a white robe. I'm sorry, a white smock. Interchangeable. Okay, here we go. Don Lemon is a black hole responsible for the missing jet.
Hijacking or terrorism or mechanical failure or pilot.
And it's Flight 370.
Error, but what if it was something fully that we don't really understand? A lot of people have been asking about that, about black holes and on and on and on and all of these conspiracy theories. Let's look at this. Noah says, what else can you think about? Black hole, Bermuda Triangle. And then Deji says, huh, just like the movie Lost. And of course, they're also referencing the Twilight Zone, which has a very similar plot. That's what people are saying. I know it's preposterous, but is it preposterous, you think, Mary?
Well, it is. A black hole is about, a small black hole would suck in our entire universe. So we know it's not that. Bermuda Triangle is often weather.
Okay, so a small black hole would suck in our entire universe. Okay, cool. So it's not that. Good to know. Straight-faced, trustworthy, authoritative. All right, so again, that's Don Lemon. He's pretty much one of the most disturbed individuals there at the CNN. I mean, we did a cartoon take on CNN's basement, positing it to be basically a kind of a pizza parlor and a dungeon. And I think that's pretty much true. Okay, a couple other things here. Let's go back to this topic. So I wanted to get into this Donda 2 event. I think this is important. I think it's very important here. Now, I wanted to talk about why it's significant that they have Marilyn Manson up there, because I don't think this is some random choice. And his role symbolically is, I think it's meant to convey this helter-skelter narrative. It connects to the 1969 Charles Manson event with this cult leader. It ties into everything that we're looking at today, especially when you look at today's counterpart for Charles Manson. The actual killing was performed by Matthew Coleman out there in Santa Barbara, the guy who stabbed his kid with a spear 17 times. Well, that was on the Manson anniversary. I actually predicted that there would be a killing, an atrocity commensurate with the Manson killings on the anniversary, consistent with the patterning of 1969 over 2021, as we had observed, not just with the space program, but also with this Manson narrative. And at this time, I had noted that Marilyn Manson was in the news consistently for his mind control, for abuse, and these allegations that are now coming out. So they've pretty much they've reinvented this Charles Manson in a composite form. You got the face of Q, the QAnon shaman Q sent me with the spear. You got the guy who kills his kid with a spear on the Manson anniversaries because Q sent him. And then you have Marilyn Manson. Now this is where it gets, as you'll see, very interesting, because helter-skelter is what Charles Manson was talking about. They were trying to do these killings as a psyop, blame it on the Black Panthers, which would be the BLM today, and trigger a race war. This is the Turner Diaries narrative that they've been reinventing, that they brought to life with the McCloskeys and Kyle and all this other stuff. So this Charles Manson story was that there was going to be a race war, helter-skelter is what it's called. Well, when you look at Marilyn Manson, you have to remember that he's been consistently associated with certain archetypes, certain fake or villains, psyop villains they've created, like the Littleton shooters. That's not insignificant. All the bowl cut shooters, all the white neo-Nazi mass murderers are part of this agenda, and he plays into it. You know, his music isn't pro-gun necessarily. It's not anti-gun, but it's more or less adding fuel to the fire. Yeah, America has a gun epidemic. A lot of the music out there reinforces the propaganda. But then, again, the other side of it, too, is, again, Kanye West playing the role of the Phoenix. Marilyn Manson, Charles Manson. Charles Manson was this apocalyptic preacher, and here we are going into the age of Aquarius. And I've been looking at this significance of the house, the chapel. So you got the house that he burns. Well, there's another house that this is somewhat very similar to, and I'd say it's the same symbol, and that's the house at Westworld. So again, Kanye West, and now you got Westworld. Well, in Westworld, the protagonist, played by, her name is Dolores in the movie, she's played by Evan Wood. Now, last year, at the age of 33, she starts producing this documentary about her relationship with Marilyn Manson. And it echoes, it parallels, it mirrors her relationship with the Man in Black in Westworld. So in Westworld, the Man in Black really represents this Saturnian matrix that this person is escaping this sentient AI. It's kind of a metaphor, I think. So she has to defeat the man in black by recognizing she's caught in a cycle, and she has to establish a continuity after each night so that she can escape this labyrinth. So it's kind of a metaphor. She leads this robot rebellion, and it's all about, I think, burning down Westworld or escaping this revolution. So here we have her in real life seeing Marilyn Manson, another man in black, same archetype, who now she's having these recollections about how, yeah, she was caught in a cycle of abuse and now she can see it. And like in the movie, she becomes a villain. She's like a phoenix rising. She has this rebirth. Well, her documentary about her awakening to this and her challenging the man in black is called Phoenix Rising. And again, 33-year-old at the time. The number 33 is consistently associated with the phoenix, but it's about her defeating the man in black. Now, this is where it gets even more consistent with this general pattern and this set of symbols is the man in black is Saturn, like Darth Vader, Saturnian. Luke Skywalker challenges the darkness and dies every day. It's a cycle of death and death and death and rebirth. So there's a lot of that Sun versus Saturn stuff here, even though she's not a male or a sun god in the usual sense. You can kind of see the same patterning, a lot of the same sets of symbols. Very interesting. But let me play a clip here. Phoenix Rising. And I think this is also part of creating Marilyn Manson, or rather typecasting him as a literal Charles Manson.
It's really hard for me to look at photos of myself from before. I've kept this journal since I was 15. I made a new friend. I'm here today to talk about Brian Warner, also known to the world as Marilyn Manson.
Okay, so it's a Sundance movie, and again, this is, you can believe what you want to believe about it, but I'm of the opinion, based on the same sets of numbers, the characters, the actors, Marilyn Manson's previous relationship to so many other fake events and psychological operations. This is all part of a protracted psychological warfare operation. And I think this is probably part of a broader mind-washing agenda, more Brian Laundrie, brainwashing. But my point is, look at the imagery, Phoenix Rising, all very significant and very consistent with her character in the TV show. And then one other thing. There's a song by Marilyn Manson where there's a line called, where he says, the rape of Persephone. And now, again, Persephone was taken into hell by Hades. And Hades is Pluto, and we're having this Pluto returns ritual with Kanye West. That's the context. So we have the Gabby Petito character going to Hades. Well, now we have this person. Maybe even this is just a following of the same story, because now here she's emerging on 222, the gates of Hades, whatever, opening, and she's the Phoenix Rising. But anyway, there's a song by Marilyn Manson called Overneath the Path of Misery. And in the song, he makes this reference to the rape of Persephone was choreographed by the wrong Greeks. The rape of Persephone was a marketing scheme. And then he says, Persephone, and repeats it. And so I've heard this chorus before. A number of Macbeth references, probably unlistenable to most, but my point is, it talks about this being a marketing scheme and so phony. And, it's just very coincidental, I suppose. Again, I just had to bring this up. There's this parallel. Now listen to this line. This is just part of a description from Westworld. In the flashback, we see the man in black turn to Dolores while pulling out his knife. Why don't we acquaint ourselves? Start at the beginning. Her relationship with him is like this cycle of abuse, cycle of death. There's more here. It says here there are more layers to what the man in black is looking for, and that cumulative experience for Dolores has allowed her to start seeing the fissures and cracks in her world, and she's beginning to fight back, and that's what we're excited about. Anyway, it's an interesting series. If you haven't seen Westworld, yesterday we were talking about the symbolism in the logo, which integrates 9/11 and 3/11 in a very interesting way. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and catch up on the comments really quick. And before I do, let me show you the screen cap. I was doing some space research. The International Space Station construction began with a module called Zarya, and it weighed 42,000 pounds. Just noting how consistent this symbolism with 42 and Saturn and this cult of the monolith has been for decades. Okay, let's see here. Lean Dion says the teleprompter writers must have a laugh regularly. Yeah, the news today is a clown show. And Don Lemon, you're talking about Don Lemon and the black hole sucking up plane 731? Yeah, I don't know. I noticed the Cuomo's just sort of got silently disappeared. Yeah, small black hole sucking in the universe, asks Cubstar. Do they have a picture of one? Yeah, actually, recently I think they had a picture of a black hole. Joined by Ashy Dog. John says Russia bad, me good. Marvey says born a woman, female finger, digits, no Adam, apple, Marilyn. You're saying Marilyn Manson's a woman? I highly doubt that. I mean, I highly doubt it. Doesn't mean it's not true, but I highly doubt it. But again, I mean, I don't know. It's a world stage. You know, Globe Theater. Everything seems to be reversed. Alice in Wonderland. And I've been doing some research into magic because I'm trying to understand something. Because I believe there's a place, there's an area where magic intersects with media, that they're almost the same thing. Like, think about this. Let's say hypothetically that you are a reality manifesting machine. Maybe 1%. Maybe you're in a rigged system, but you have some input. And that's kind of what I'm suggesting here. That maybe your imagination might be the place where this process starts. And that the image in the mind of the mage, it creates something of a magnetic law of attraction effect to manifest whatever it is that you're holding on to. So what if you're an NPC or you're just not really motivated to do anything, to modify this habitat, to change the universe? Maybe you don't believe that you can affect anything, that everything that happens good is coincidence, bad coincidence. So then I would suggest that the dominant influencers, the ones putting the images in your head, are able to still utilize your creative faculties, but for their ends. So I kind of think we might live in a society of not matrix batteries, but mass group magical ritual participants who don't even know it. And this might even explain why we have these symbols and numbers everywhere. Because it can't just be that they're mocking us or that they have their language they're using above our heads and they're just hoping we don't eventually figure out how to read it. The more I'm looking into sigil magic and how this stuff works, it may be that they need us to ignorantly just perceive them in ignorance, to see them and to take in the symbols through a form of osmosis so that they are embedded in your imaginations, where they have the power to hijack your God powers, your creative capabilities. And that's kind of what it looks like. I mean, if this magic, as it's explained, is real, I mean, I'm not saying it's real, but look at this article from Fast Company. Just a pull quote here. The ISS is too large to satisfy the design for demise principle, which is why we need special operations for a D-orbit. The experts estimate that if it were to crash down in an uncontrolled metropolitan area, worst case scenario, it would be on the scale of a 9/11 event. I mean, how many times have I said that 9/11, the next 9/11 is going to come from space and that it's being encoded into the space station, that even the solar, there's just too much about this thing that suggests that that's what's going to be. And yeah, they actually said that in Fast Company. All right, let's see. Ashy Dog says, yikes, Marilyn Manson, who knows what it is. Johnny's List, he played a woman in Party Monster. Right. John says, JFK assassination was a Disney masterpiece. Well, okay, speaking of Disney, So Disney invented Pluto the dog, or named him Pluto, in 1930. The planet Pluto, quote unquote, was designated such in 1930. So 1930. Not that long ago, but my point is the Disney dog's face is perfectly silhouetted on the planet. Now, we live in a flat solar system. So you're a flat solar system-er if you think you're on a ball Earth. So you can laugh at flat Earth, but your solar system's flat. And at the edge of the solar system, well, anyway, rather at the ecliptic, you have most of the planets are pretty much in a line. But below it, 17 degrees, there you have your Pluto. So Pluto is the god of the underworld. And so you have the god of the underworld with his dogs. And this is kind of where I think Pluto the dog might be significant. And if you remember last week, Joe Biden was talking about how he left a dead dog on his neighbor's door, or some lady's door, a Republican or something. I'm starting to think here, these conspicuous dog references. Joe Biden with his dog on a leash and kicking it. Joe Biden pulling his dog Major's tail. Joe Biden leaving a dead dog. Then there's a bizarre clip of Johnny Depp talking about having to kill his dogs. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Gods of death and the underworld. Dogs. Maybe there's some kind of correlation. And then what do you know? Pluto returns. And along with it, we have this big ritual celebration of Pluto returning. Angst G says reality as mass conjuring. Yeah, I would say so. However, I don't think any one person has a monopoly. I think that's why they want to monopolize your attention. Marve says the sad part is most people don't distinguish. They just go with the mainstream belief. Yeah, I don't think that the, quote, transvestigation experts have any background in anthropology. It's kind of a joke. Crazy Man says, anyone else see that RV Truth is back on the warpath? Tonight's target, Jake the A-hole. Yeah, actually I watched 2 videos back to back today. There's a war on flat Earth. So if you're not entertained by the fireworks out there in Ukraine, Russian Vids says that Jake the A-hole is a fake flat earther. Now, Russian Vids isn't Russian. He's actually American. I think he lives in San Francisco. So we called him out on it, and he changed his name from Russian Vids to RV Truth. And I was hoping that Jake would call him out for not having an RV. You can't call yourself a van lifer or an RV truther if you don't have an RV or a van. Ashy Dog says, I believe in NPCs. I don't believe in NPCs as in soulless, but I do think that a lot of people are not active participants in the world stage drama, that they're extras, which is fine, I guess. I don't know. You want to go with the default, you'll believe a lot of things that are false, phony, that are put out there to make you controllable and moldable. So let's read about Helter Skelter for just a minute. So a little background here on this 1969 thing that I keep on mentioning. So 1968, in many ways, was a template for the drama of 2020 in the summer. And 69 followed this set of patterns where events from 69 were conspicuously repeating in 2021 in very significant ways. Like on the anniversary of Apollo 11, we have a launch. Things like that. On the anniversary of the Manson killings, we have the atrocity in Santa Barbara by a guy who was sent by Q. We had the Internet of Things, 5G corresponds, I think, with the ARPANET. But there's a lot of minor and major patterns that are more or less repeating. So then we had the Manson drama, and it even goes into the names, like the Manson, the Tate Lee Bianca murders. Now this is significant. So you got Bianca, and then one of the individuals suing Manson is Bianco with an O. So A and O, Alpha Omega, ties into this entire narrative here. So according to the teachings of at first, when he first started recruiting, he was like 33 or something. But Manson spoke about the members of the family, and one more thing. The place where the killings happened, the Manson house, it's for sale for $85 million. The house, the property, they have a big mansion there. It's owned by the producer of Full House, which is also kind of an interesting tie-in. But anyway, Manson spoke to his family, or the cult, about an apocalyptic war arising from racial tensions between blacks and whites. And he said that the Beatles album, the White Album, and Revelation all tied in and let him know that this was supposed to happen. So you have this apocalypse story. It says here, this is again part of their scenario. Manson had the war, this whole scenario laid out, and it's kind of crazy, but basically militant blacks would exploit this, provoke a war. There'd be a near extermination between racist white people and non-racist white people over the treatment of black people. Then the militant blacks would rise up and finish the few whites that survived. Anyway, it's this ridiculous narrative of a race war. And of course, it goes on about how the Manson family would survive out there in Death Valley. So Helter Skelter is a code for this black versus white. So the schism, the crack that I'm talking about, it was accentuated with the George Floyd Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin is a symbol of Western chauvinism. The name Derek is a hangman reference. The name derives from an infamous hangman who hanged 3,000, a very 9/11-y number. I Can't Breathe, that was an 8-minute 46-second lynching. 8:46 is the time that the sun set the day of that killing in the Twin Cities. And then the Twin Towers on 9/11 were struck at 8:46. So the significance of that number and the schism and the black versus white or Western chauvinism versus BLM, you had the Proud Boys. In fact, one of the Proud Boy leaders was shot in the chest at 8:46. Prayer Patriot J. Aaron Danielson. Very significant. So the 846 schism, I think, is about this helter-skelter, and which is not just race. Race is the Marxist cover, but they also use gender, they use environmentalism. It's about really the political and economic system. It's 1776 versus 1619. Again, Declaration of Independence versus slave trade. But what I'm looking at here with this, like a mirror lock, you just flip 846, you get 648. That's when they opened the lock. So here we have Marilyn Manson on the stage at this Westworld event, Kanye West, Pluto Returns, and it all kind of ties into this reoccurring theme of build back better after we burn it down, the symbol of the phoenix. And what's more, their performance was on a stage that was flooded, so they were up to their ankles in water. And it's dark, which to me is suggestive of blackouts, floods, and possibly even nuclear fallout, because the people were all wearing black spacesuits with opaque lenses. Again, none of this is coincidental. I don't think we're looking at a mere rock concert. I think what we're looking at is a ritual akin to the CERN ritual, especially when you get into the symbolism. None of it being coincidental, and then of course you tie into it the two Pluto conjunct. And I have 2 fatigue. Alright, let me go ahead and catch up on comments here. Johnny's List says RV is the real a-hole. Ashy Dog says, for everyone calling people fake, flat earth civil war. Yeah, it's a long time. It's sort of a long story, but if you really want to get into it, basically on YouTube, when YouTube started, I think that the way you built your channel in some ways was to call out another channel as being phony or fake, and then their subs would come to your side. I would call this approach treating other channels like subscriber piñatas. You just keep hitting that channel and their subs will fall out and they'll gravitate towards you. And I think that worked originally, because originally you used to be able to reply to YouTube videos, and so all their subscribers would see it, and you could build a channel that way. So Russian Vids is attempting to gain Jake's subs. This is very zero-sum game thinking, programmed by the people who designed the closed globe model system. Zero-sum, running out of air, running out of this, running out of toilet paper, running out of subscribers. when the truth is there's no reason to, think that you're going to have this winning result by parasiting or treating other channels like pinatas. Because the truth is, most people who listen to one listen to the other. Most people I know are open-minded and they get their info from many sources. Nobody here is looking for a guru that I know. All right, let's see. Let's continue. Salty Siren says, what is a full house? It's like a checkmate on a chessboard, but with cards. Okay. Marvey says, why do you think his head is always white and Marilyn Manson is always joking with gender distortions? Right, and it's not just Marilyn Manson. Everyone in his band, they had a name that corresponded with, was it probably like a model or a beauty queen or something, and then a killer? A deliberate play on opposites. But now, as far as Jake the A-hole versus RV, they're too different, and so I don't see any reason to rule out one or the other. My only criticism of Russian Vids has been that he claims to be a Bible fundamentalist, but he can't recite Bible verses, and instead he uses meatloaf lyrics to give his content a little more gravitas. It's like, read the Bible at the end. Why are you reading Meatloaf? Meatloaf was a crisis actor who claims that he was at Dallas when JFK was shot. He claims he saw the blood of JFK on that Lincoln at Parkland Hospital. And what a I think that Meatloaf was a lifelong crisis actor, by the way. Oh, Cardi B weighs in on Russia, Ukraine. Quote, if I don't say the right things, I might get killed. Pray for her. These celebrities, like they really do think they matter this much. Although I don't think they're all insiders. Like when COVID happened, Cardi B was accusing people of faking it for money. And she's like, I need liposuction, so let me in on it. And apparently they did. Now, I came up with a lot of interesting metascripty connections between Lincoln and Kennedy and recent events, but I kind of don't want to go there right now. I think it might be the subject of a dedicated pre-recorded video and an actual mind map that you can print out and magnet stick on your refrigerator. You just pin it up there so you can, just show people, yep, I knew this was going to happen. Because there's been some forecasting far beyond anything we've seen with predictive programming. I think the world's being prepped for something. Oh, by the way, I spotted a crisis actor this morning. My first thought when I saw this image was, she's got a nice smile for someone who just got hit by a bomb. But more, her face is bloody, her hands are bloody, but she's got a clean cheesecloth wrapped around her head. And so I'm wondering, okay, I mean, I don't know, maybe it doesn't make sense to me, I'm sorry. The bandage is clean, but her face is bloody. It looks like a bad Halloween costume. So I automatically doubted this one. Well, it turns out that she's popped up a few different times as a head wound victim. Another crisis actor. John says, I'm noticing all the lowest IQs on my Facebook feed are chanting pray for Ukraine, whatever that means. Lean Dion says, the blonde lady is on our front cover newspaper. Wow. What do these crisis actresses get when they get a cover? Do they get paid like a bonus if they're extra convincing? Like Waynell Sexton has got to have a mansion in the Hollywood Hills. She probably has Mac Parhar over. Is Mac Parhar coming down with the truckers? All these recycled crisis actors. Oh, check this out. And thanks to Evolvement in the Discord server for this piece here. So this was a cartoon that was published by the Times and Sunday Times on 6/14/2019. Now again, 6/14, that number, very, very significant, ties into don't look up, comet's going to hit the Earth in 6 months, 14 days. 6/14 is Trump's birthday. 6/14 is the birthday of that comedian who hilariously fell and hit her head. 6/14 is the birth date of Joel Souza, the guy that Alec Baldwin shot. All very interesting connections here if you want to dig into it. But my point is this. This is a cartoon from June of 2019, and you have Boris locked down wearing a mask. I mean, it's a cartoon unrelated to COVID, obviously, but he's being arrested. And they have a mask only over his mouth, and he's locked down in place. Looks like predictive programming. Cubstar says Wayno Sexton is working off big debts with bad people. You know, there's two types of crisis actors that I've noticed, and many of you have too. You have the federal informants who are scraped off the bottom of some dungeon because they're useful in some capacity, and then you have actual like well-trained actors and actresses who are part of the industry, the PSYOP entertainment industry. And you can tell who the thespians are. And in my opinion, Wayno is a thespian. I don't think she's compromised. I don't think she's a federal informant. One of her performances was as an angry liberal professor protesting, I think it was protesting Milo Yiannopoulos or possibly Ann Coulter, you know, one of those right-wing bomb-throwing guys. But yeah, great actress. All right, let's continue here. So many important memes to sift through. 24/7 stream is back up, though. That's really the main news tonight. I had to start this up because we're on Rumble now. We're on float.app. Okay, so here's an interesting story that popped up today. There's an actress from The Walking Dead whose parents froze to death. So here she is playing chess with her father. Again, chess, black versus white, duality. On each side of the table there's a cup, and there's an obvious reflection in the glass. They're a mirror of one another. This actress, again, The Walking Dead. So when I see The Walking Dead, the movie, well, I mean the TV series, there's all kinds of agendas encoded into it. But it's about us. And here one of the actresses has this ordeal where her parents froze to death. So think about the space heater agenda. The space heater as symbol of inequity. And how that ties in to the story here of them freezing. Again, we're talking about climate change, possibly. But anyway, Walking Dead actress Alicia Witt's parents died to exposure to the cold. So I'm thinking this has got to be something with Dark Winter, Walking Dead, and something about her parents they were just intransigent. She couldn't get them to accept help. And this was the story. And it makes me think maybe they're preparing us for the people who don't want to let go of the old ways are going to have to be, you know, left outside of the smart cities. You know, the people who are going against science, the anti-science, are just going to have to die off. Like, that's kind of the message I'm getting here. I'm getting some kind of communist subtext, Walking Dead, Dark Winter. I don't know what you all think, but I looked into it a little bit here, and the first thing I saw was, it doesn't seem real. It seems like a movie. It says here, Walking Dead actress Alicia Witt's parents were found dead inside their rundown home. So I was looking at the pictures, and they all look like they're excited about to go on a vacation, maybe to Crisis Actor Island. Behind many of their pictures, you see bricks. Their home looks very comfortable. It doesn't look like a place where you could actually freeze to death. They're wearing Patriots hats, which may also matter because I've seen this juxtaposition of Patriots, like the football team. They're used in PSYOPs quite a bit, and I think they represent the political right. So, for example, you had Tom Brady, Patriot, and you had this article recently where they have him juxtaposed with Colin Kaepernick, communist, BLM, Marxist, revolutionary. Even the name Kaepernick comes from Copernicus, Copernican Revolution, pretty obvious world stage name. But think about it. Tom Brady and his shootout with Kaepernick, it had this perfect juxtaposition of patriot and commie. Not a coincidence the numbers were 12 and 7, which is 12-7 Pearl Harbor. And there's more encoded into it. But again, her parents froze to death. And she says here something about it was like a movie, which is kind of an interesting thing to say. Like when things happen in my real life, I never compare it to TV because everything on TV looks fake. It's like it was like a movie. What does that mean? It was like phony. I want to find the direct quote here. I look for these types of keywords. Frozen. Refusing her pleas to help them. Going through comments. Lickety Split says Sean Penn is filming inside Ukraine. Oh yeah, Sean Penn. You know, I saw this meme of Sean Penn and I couldn't unsee it. And you bring up Sean Penn, and this is immediately what I think about. There's this meme where it's a combination of the Three Stooges, Larry, Curly, and Moe. And it was like, if it's popular enough, I can probably find it right now. Yep, here it is. Why does Sean Penn look like all Three Stooges combined? And look at this picture and tell me that meme isn't just speaking 1,000 words of pure unmitigated truth. Look at that. Larry, Curly, and Moe all wrapped up into one. All right, well, let's continue here. I think that he said some pretty nasty things in the past. I remember him, but I don't know. The last I heard from Sean Penn, I think he's definitely a gun grabber. He was in a movie that premiered on the night of Dark Knight Rises. You know where the Batman shooter came out and shot everybody? Before the movie starts, there's a Sean Penn movie where gangsters tear through the screen and shoot the audience. Predictive programming, movies within movies. If you want a link to any of these memes, go to my Minds account at minds.com/infiniteplanesociety. It's a meme pool. And we take our meme pool here very seriously. A meme pool is your collection of ideas, your a population's culture. You know, the sum total of all of it. And what we have here is a meme pool. And even after 100+ YouTube channels, and now I'm on my second lawsuit against YouTube, they have not at all drained our reservoir of memes. And basically it's damned. It's dammed up. Like we have this pool of memes that are just waiting for the Kraken. Just need to crack that dam and see what happens. We've done it before, research flat earth. We've done it with a few other things, but I think some interesting times are coming up ahead, assuming they don't entirely black out the internet. But I don't think they can. And the reason why I say this is that it would turn off the mind control. Got a comment here from Teddy Bear. Thank you for all you cover. I saw that you published a mud flood conspiracy book. The implications of the mud flood or old world conspiracy are broad to say in the least. Yes, it's an interesting topic. This is, interestingly enough, the first time I heard the phrase reset. Way before the World Economic Forum and Darth Klaus, Anil Schwab started talking about the Great Reset, the mud flooder said there's going to be a reset. But mud flood is really about a flood. It doesn't mean necessarily a bunch of mud. However, if there's a big flood and there's sediment and then the waters recede, and you see this in a lot of movies, from Planet of the Apes or more recent even the movie 100, the TV series 100, you often see the Statue of Liberty or the Golden Gate Bridge, other monuments buried up in sand. The idea is that history is actually a series of layered stories, buried civilizations on top of buried civilizations. You know, like turtles all the way down? Just think dead turtles all the way down. That we are essentially on a grave, and eventually we will be in one. It's an interesting idea. The other part of it too is that the movers and shakers of the world who know how this thing works are in the know about the resets, and they get away and they come back after and they repopulate, which is very consistent with a lot of the programming we've seen. And one of the theories behind mud flood involves the repopulation by these so-called orphan trains. Okay, we're back. We had a brief minor interruption. What were we talking about? I always like to take note of what it was we were talking about whenever we get shut down. Something sensitive. Orphan trains. Maybe that's what it was. By the way, the series that I was referencing, the 100, is about an orphan train from a space ark coming down to the Earth to repopulate after nuclear annihilation, triggered by the AI that took over the government. Done to save the planet from us. We're talking about resets and my OBS reset. Eggs G says, Gremlins strike again. Yeah, I'll put a link to the... Actually, if you go to infiniteplane.radio and scroll down, or if you get any of our... You can get a link to where these memes are, but I'll put a link in the chat. It's minds.com. So if you want to know what's on my minds... And it is like that. I'm somewhat compartmentalized these days, but we're getting a lot of work done. Things are moving according to the infinite plan. If you see the werewolf, just a quick explanation since we're here. If you see the penguin with the wolf head, this is just the emblem of our goldfinch hunting department. And if you're interested in this hunt for gold or goldfinch, go to the Discord server and ask where the werewolf server is, and I'll send you there. Because yes, we're on the trail of none other than Q. We have identified Q. We have doxed Q. It was the Infinite Plane Society's decentralized investigation agency, and we are really close to, I think, really exposing, to opening up this whole story to the MSM, and it'll be fireworks. So if you want to help, if you want to join the hunt, join the Wolf Gwins, I'll go ahead and get you in the squad there. Again, the Discord server is where we collectively just post and share all of our research as we find it. And some of the stuff I find is just so unbelievable, but you would not be able to amass all these memes by yourself. That's why I suggest you join. Add to our strength here. Listen to this. John Kerry says he hopes Putin stays, quote, on track to fight climate change during the Ukraine invasion. What does that mean? Coming from a skull and bonesman, Saturn, cult of Saturn, Satanist, whatever you want to call these guys, they're not philanthropists. In fact, John Kerry is waging World War Zero, which is the agenda of let's cut our collective carbon footprint in half by 2030. So I'm like, wait, what does he mean by fighting climate change? Conserving on fuel or killing a lot of breathers? Because you are climate change. You're responsible for this. You're the consumer, you're the breather. Whenever they say we got to do something, like to fight climate change, I hear to fight man. That's pretty much the pattern. There are no philanthropists who believe in the climate change agenda, which is obviously Marxism. Okay, here's a couple of weird stories I got to point out too. We talked about this thing before, how on the 30th there was a viral story about Colin Kaepernick being dead. The story went viral on all the various websites that deal with sports. Just a hoax. Well, anyway, Jaden Smith, who played young Colin Kaepernick in Colin in Black and White, was on 22222 mistakenly reported as dead. Jaden Smith has broken his silence by shutting down rumors of his death that took the internet by storm on Wednesday morning. He reacted to on Twitter with a bizarre social media. This is, again, he just tweeted the word invisible, but it's a bizarre social media claim that went all over. So he was reported as dead, and he responded with the word invisible. Whatever that means, but my point is, he played Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick was reported dead mistakenly a month before. Strange. Doom for the dinos came in springtime. This new study is just discussing when the, Mount Everest-sized rock hit the Earth 66 million years ago. The one that punctured the atmosphere and hit with such velocity that it shot a great deal of biomatter out into space, basically squirted dinosaurs onto the moon with a bunch of ocean and trees, supposedly, I imagine, because the moon rocks that came down were all made of wood. You're all familiar with that story, and this is a deal killer. You want to say that the moon landing hoaxers are conspiracy theorists? Explain this. Petrified wood. The moon rock is nothing but petrified wood. This is admitted. So, if you're going to be consistent with yourself, if you're a believer in mainstream science, then you're going to have to admit, or at least agree, that the moon is made out of wood. There's no other explanation. The moon is made out of wood, A, or B, they faked it. They didn't actually go to the moon. Or maybe when the asteroid hit the Earth, it also sent wood to the moon, if you want to believe that. But yeah, is the moon made out of wood? Let me go ahead and play this clip here. This is from NPR. Moon rock is really just petrified wood. This is one of their sources. NPR will tell you the moon landing was real, but
NPR.
Listen to this. A prized possession in the Dutch National Museum.
Good morning. I'm Steve Inskeep. A prized possession in the Dutch National Museum is not what the curators thought. Back in 1969, the Apollo 11 astronauts visited the Netherlands, and the U.S. ambassador gave the Dutch prime minister what he said was a moon rock. No doubt it gave a warm feeling to the U.S. ally. But when an expert saw it in the National Museum, he said he wasn't so sure it was real. Geologists have now identified the moon rock as petrified wood. It's Morning Edition.
Petrified
Between
wood.
streaming services and digital.
Okay. Guys, NPR. IPR, Infinite Plane Radio, will soon be doing what NPR does, but from the perspective of not having our heads through the screen. Eric Britton says, I believe you're right about that. Climate change is code for the common man. That's correct. When they get you to recycle, they're getting you to separate your decisions. Those decisions that are sustainable versus those that are not. It's the new concept of, sin and the expiation of guilt. And the recycling process takes you to the dumpster with the symbol of the 3 nails, a reference to the dying and resurrecting sun god, but also 3 nails arranged in a triangle, but also at right angles, so it's a cycle. So the god of death and rebirth, recycling, is encoded into, earth worship by recycling. You're worshiping Gaia, which is a name for the earth god. And then speaking of Gaia, and this is something most of you here have already heard, but the World Economic Forum 666 says that they're launching this thing called Gaia, the Global AI Action Alliance. So this is the idea that they can have an artificially intelligent being take over and nuke us to save the earth, just like in the 100. But the significance here is Gaia includes AI in the middle, which very significant. AI is code for 19. We've talked about the symbolism of that number itself, but also more importantly, Gaia is the goddess of the earth. So the earth itself, the earth god is Gaia. So you're recycling for Gaia. Praise Gaia. And throw your crushed cans in there and think you're staving off his wrath. Johnny's List says, I think climate change is code for bullshit. Right, well, climate change is 33 years old. It was started in, I think some NASA scientist, let me take a look at that, the birth date, because you'll notice that a lot of these psyops take 33 years to come into fruition. Happy birthday, global warming, climate change 33, celebrated on January the 23rd. Okay, so it was January the 23rd, 1988, and it was a NASA scientist, so you know it's true, who just declared it a thing. So global warming's a vibe. So 33 years they've been telling us, the ocean level's going to rise, there's going to be a flood, yet none of these global warming fear-mongers ever move to higher ground to avoid, they're fine with their beachfront property. Happy birthday, global warming. There's Al Gore. Didn't Al Gore claim to have invented the internet? Al Gore rhythm. And I'm pretty sure that Greta Thunberg is just Al Gore with pigtails, an animatronic avatar They couldn't sell Al Gore anymore because he's unsellable, and his massive carbon footprint is just too easy a target, so they brought out Greta. But Al Gore Leone, with the Environmentalist Protectionist Agency, it's just a mafia. An inconvenient truth. I remember all these ridiculous movies. John says the ocean is not rising. I think it is, but I think it's rising because of all the PPE that we've tossed into the ocean. Lily Bell says Portland recycles needles and crack pipes. Yeah, and in California, it's soon going to be legal to compost your loved ones. That's recycling. In fact, the unicorn killer, the creator of Earth Day, was known for specifically that. Ira Einhorn. This is the guy that started Earth Day. This is the guy they're celebrating. Happy Earth Day. Great moments in envirofascism. Earth Day founder Ira Einhorn, the unicorn killer, convicted of murder in the composting of his girlfriend in the trunk of his closet. That's green. Just recycle your girlfriends. Compost them. One Step Too Far says, when the ice melts in your glass of water, your cup doesn't overflow. Well, if your science doesn't comport with the mainstream media science, you are anti-science. So that's a very anti-science statement there. Some dangerous misinformation, malinformation possibly. Like disinformation, it's probably just going to be a life sentence. Malinformation, death sentence, drone strike. Misinformation, they probably just take you off the internet. But that's what they've said. The new weapon of mass destruction, WMD. They just flip the W. It's MDM now. It's mis, mal, and disinformation. I didn't even know what malinformation was. I didn't know that there was such a thing as malinformation. That sounds like Malefica, like some kind of curse, like black magic. Like, is this superstition? Or is there really such a thing as malinformation? Well, according to the Department of Homeland Security, yes, you are a spreader of mis, dis, and malinformation, and you are a threat actor if you use information to sow doubt about the government. Have you spread any malinformation lately? This is from bizjournals.com. And again, this is coming from the DHS, so it's for your safety. On February the 7th, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security issued a National Terrorism Advisory Bulletin with this novel concept of malinformation. See, this is a mainstream article, and they're even noticing that there's something that stands out about this. Malinformation is a novel concept, but like if you're willing to suggest that your government would lie, well, you're spreading malinformation. And that is, of course, equivalent to, I don't know. I mean, I've seen some ridiculous arguments. Bill Nye the Science Guy once said that if you don't believe in climate change, you're endangering your neighbors, that you're pretty much a threat to society. And this is all coming full circle. I think they use the coronavirus panic and the pandemic as a pretext to wage this war on the infodemic. And infodemic is not just right-wing memes, it's anything they don't control. All right, going through some comments. Johnny's List says the ocean level is rising mostly at the equator due to the Earth spinning. I heard it on the radio. Oh, that's funny. So it's fatter in the middle. It's oblate. I like that whole idea. But by that logic, how come the planets that we see on the TV are so spherical? I mean, wouldn't they all be somewhat pizza-shaped? And if the Earth is fatter in the middle, then, flat Earth is where we're eventually going. I mean, like tossed pizza dough. You spin the dough, and it flattens out. So maybe we're not flat yet, but we're getting there. Symbolic Study says, greetings all. Joined by Strawberry Blind, Infinite Muse, mal equals bad. Yes, exactly. Well, see, this is the thing. What is it? Malleus Maleficorum, that witch's hammer. Yes, The Hammer of Witches, best known as a treatise on witchcraft. This was the book that was used for hunting witches. And so this idea of, like what we're having now, this pretty much superstitious notion that people who are carriers of bad information are more or less witches. Contact tracing is what we're looking at here. They're setting this precedent already too, that your browser history is a predictor, of what you might do in the future, Minority Report level stuff. But anyway, I would say that yes, you are not just an infidel, you're a witch. This is a new inquisition. The whole Patriot Act idea of like we got to find the people who are being radicalized by the Quran, trace the radicals to their source, find the radical cleric. Where do they go to the secret meeting where they all signed the pact with the devil? This is the idea of this radicalization. But now the radicals are radicalized by misinformation. Like they've replaced the Quran radicals with the QAnon radicals. Contact tracing set the idea that you got to trace the people who might be super spreading as a way of protecting you. So you get a call. Oh, you went and got your hair cut here. We're calling you to let you know somebody there had COVID. So they established the precedent that, yeah, privacy is actually in the way of you being safe. Well, now it's being applied to, of course, people who spread information. And now, of course, they actually call you a threat actor. Hey, check this out. Tesla is no longer a $2 billion man. So he's still the richest man. He's still in the triple comma club. But he lost $71 billion. Now, I look at all these stories as coded. He gave $42,000 to the truckers, by the way. But yes, he lost $71 billion. And I thought, I wonder if there's any significance to that. The only thing I can attach to it might be they pulled 71 Joe Rogan tracks. But again, the $200 billion club just lost its most recent member. Does anybody here believe that Elon Musk is anything other than a media construct, an actor? He pre-existed himself in the book written by Werner von Braun. He's obviously been typecast as this Iron Man / Willy Wonka. And then there's all these tie-ins between the space program and outer space, media tie-ins. Like the Starship, Star Trek. On Mars, they actually found a plateau that looks just like the House of Stark from Game of Thrones. Again, it's a wolf. Now, House of Stark, Tony Stark is Iron Man. Let me hit the comment section up really quick here. Salty Siren says radical rabbit holes. Yeah, that's what they're suggesting here. And I think they're setting the precedent for something, an internet blackout. Like I saw this coming last year when Kim Kardashian froze her social media. I think Leonardo DiCaprio did too. I mean, that's what they said they did. They reopened it, but they froze their social media because of internet hate. And I thought that's kind of weird. Like, who cares, right? Well, apparently this is, I think, an influence operation. Kim Kardashian and other celebs froze their social media. And they use the word froze. They protest social media by freezing their accounts. I can't sit by and stay silent. Kim Kardashian West freezing Facebook. And there were other celebrities too. But this is because of online hate. And I thought this was a trial run. This was in September of 2020. Okay, here's some other celebrities. And think about the term frozen. Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, they did it for 24 hours. Stop hate for profit. Misinformation shared on social media has a serious impact and undermines our democracy. I think they all said it. They all read the same lines, but my point being, they've been setting the stage. Like, so the public has already accepted the idea that if somebody sneezes, somebody else can drop dead if they walk by it within an hour. That's how it was originally spread. Do you remember when they were referring to this thing as like airborne, this airborne AIDS? And then it just kind of became what it did, and now it's gone because Putin cured COVID. And speaking of AIDS, like AIDS is now the variant of the day. These things are all like a cycle. They just bring these things back. And so now they're going to say, well, how did I get AIDS? How did this kid get, how did these virgins, how are these people getting AIDS all of a sudden? What's the common denominator? And they're not going to want to point at the boosters. They're going to point at the anti-maskers. They're going to say, oh, these guys, they're going to say it's airborne, that you can be a super spreader with no symptoms. You know, asymptomatic super spreaders, the healthier you are, the more dangerous you are for society. I mean, they really did a job on us in 2020 with the cognitive dissonance. But it's amazing how they accomplished so much. They got people to bend over backwards. They got people to just throw away all their common sense, walking around with fish bowls on their heads, wrapped up in garbage bags, fighting over TP. And now, just like that, it's over. Lean Dion says, winter is coming. Game of Thrones, crowned and conquering child. West world burned down Phoenix style by Dragon Queen. Yeah, oh, that's right. Westeros burned. And the term West, let's go ahead and address this really quick here. West world. Western chauvinism. Like Derek chauvinism represents this. I've been talking about this West as a significant term for this coming psyop. So Kanye West burning, the Burning Man thing. Then you've got the Western movie Rust with the same type of house. And then, of course, you know, we're looking at, I think, symbolism here for the most part. But I was looking at this Marilyn Manson Kanye West thing very closely, and I find it to be very, very interesting how they've already had these connections to them before. I remember I heard this song called Black Skinhead, and I thought, it sounds like Marilyn Manson. And it turns out it's some type of a, I don't know if it's a collaboration or something, a sample. But, you know, we're looking at drama, ritual, and I would say predictive programming with that whole Donda thing, which corresponded, of course, with Pluto and ties us into 1776. I mean, what we talk about on this channel with the scripting of our reality, of the world stage reality, it's all based on the stars. It's based on, like the Great Reset was Jupiter and Saturn's conjunction. You know, these are templates that they write our script within. So there is a bigger structure here. And I think this destruction of the West and Westworld and Pluto coming back, it's all very significant. And my take on it here is that it's 1776 versus 1619. I'm going to have to do a separate live stream on that particular dynamic and how I have arrived at it. But I think that's what the crack is about. This crack we're referring to, this split or schism. Two different competing visions. This is from Daily Dot. Combat footage from a game called Arma 3 is being passed off as real. Combat footage from Arma 3 is a reoccurring fake news meme. See, this is what I've been saying about people can't tell the difference between real and fake. John says, the robo phone call on Crater Earth really cracked me up. Rourke says, you notice they don't talk about COVID anymore because the shit's about to hit the fan. Right. Well, look, there's something here. I have some, I believe, some predictive programming for you. So, do you remember when the piece of Russian space junk was about to hit the Earth? And this is probably a story from, I guess, was it November? Let me bring this up really quick first, because this is probably predictive programming for what's about to come. Okay, here we go. Russian rocket fails. And this was from December. Russia's biggest space war rocket in decades, the A-5, malfunctioned and only made it to low orbit, sending 20 tons of payload back to Earth. So if you missed this story, and this is back in December, Russia's rocket didn't go up all the way, and it comes back down to the Earth. It failed to reach its orbit of 22,000 miles above sea level, and it drops back down. Now the thing is, the object had a name. It was, here we go. By all indications, the object is very similar to our Percy, stuck in low Earth orbit along with the payload. So anyway, we were just like reading about this piece of space junk and the name Percy, Persei. And it turns out that that name has a relationship to these invading reptilians from Futurama. They're called the Omicron Persei. Omicron Persei 8 is a planet inhabited by large aliens that frequently attempt to invade the Earth. So the significance here was mainly that Omicron was the variant that was on the way in. And at the same time, we had this Futurama tie-in with these alien invaders with the name Omicron. And then, of course, we had the Russian space junk named for the place where these aliens come from. So we've seen this constant recurring theme of alien invaders being correlated with the viral invaders. So you got this new Omicron viral strain coming in, and at the same time, we've got this alien reptilians from Futurama. But again, the Percy upper stage crashing into the Earth. So again, invading from space. Big hunk of Russian rocket crashes as space junk. And then part of it too is there's a correlation that they've made between orbit and circulation. As in, the space junk is a problem internationally, globally, whatever, and the junk in our circulation, in your inner space, is a problem. You got the boosters. These are all symbolic things that make these correlations pretty obvious. I think the most obvious thing was the first time the space station was hit by a piece of space junk, it was shot in the arm. And the mission, celestial immunity. Tominoid says, accidental hunt of Rusty October. Okay, you know what? There were some hunt for Red October connections between Alec Baldwin and the woman that he shot, and the Rust shooting event's release date in October. There were some connections there where the Tom Clancy movie even involved the place where I believe she was born. There's just too many connections there. The Hunt for Red October. But again, the set was on a place called Coronado. But you know what's more? Rust was a Western. But again, probe into movie set shooting that killed Ukraine-born Helena Hutchins. Fascinating. There may be some connection here. I believe the movie had to do with, here we go, yeah, investigation into the fatal shooting of Ukrainian cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Also, she was 42. And the other guy that was shot had Trump's birthday, which we mentioned. We also mentioned that Baldwin had the most advanced case of Trump derangement syndrome in the world. And he said he wanted a meteor to hit the White House. So that's kind of a tie-in there. Again, Rust movie set just about an hour north of here. And by the way, the Hannah Reid, the one who handed him the weapon, she had said on her own social media in that September that she was about to experience a fall from grace. 24-year-old hands him the weapon. What's more, she had a tattoo on her abdomen of a black widow spider. I mean, what a red flag there. Yeah, but anyway, somebody on the crew was bitten by a spider while on set and nearly lost their arm. Think about that. The spider, the arm, interesting coincidences. All right, going through comments here. Lickety Split says, if anything, the fake war maintains the status quo. Yeah, I'm actually more interested in the Flat Earth Civil War at the moment. John Snyder says, hey, let's pull an all-nighter. Who's with me? Well, Infinite Plane Radio is with you. It is not turning off. We are a 24/7 stream now. And also, I'm going to do I'll probably jump right into the replay of our most recent one, which I haven't sent out to the archives yet. Celestial Wonder says, I haven't made a live stream. I can't believe it. Hey, make sure you get on the newsletter. Get on the text alerts. We're using those again. Text alerts. This is all made possible. All the extra platforms we're on by our listeners, and everything that we're putting into this as a group is all we're ever going to really get. We're not going to get any monetization. We're going to get nothing but censorship, which is why we've been mobbing up. And it works. And it's going to continue to work. I think that we almost have 500 people in Discord, which will open up some perks. Anyway, she's from Ukraine. Maybe that's relevant. The Hunt for Red October, if you haven't read it, is Tom Clancy. The significance there? Well, Tom Clancy wrote Sum of All Fears, which was pretty much 9/11. Also, The Division, Dark Winter. That's all Tom Clancy. So this is also connected. He would be one of the meta scripters. We should do a series on the various meta scripters, just one at a time. Like one day we'll do Kubrick, then we'll do Tom Clancy, then we'll do Spike Lee. I'm talking about mind mapping their work, the main stories, narratives, memes they're a part of. Alan Moore, Tom Clancy, Spike Lee. These are all important names that have helped shape the 21st century, 20th century. They shape the zeitgeist. So yeah, we'll dig. CNN will run a hit piece documentary bashing InfoWars founder Alex Jones over the weekend. Why do they keep calling Bill Hicks Alex Jones? Untangling the drama behind Queen Elizabeth II's death hoax. I'm not convinced it's the same person. It might be profitable to keep them alive, and it's just a matter of putting a mask on somebody. We could be looking at a grotesque puppet show. Basically the Crypt Keeper at this point. And who would know the difference? But she was reported dead. It was a hoax. Then it wasn't a hoax, and it was a hoax. And, at this point, it's like, I just feel like we're Mandela affected. We're just going in and out. Zachary Maidment, former Queensland cop, learns his fate after snorting cocaine off model. That has nothing to do with anything. I just couldn't believe the headline. That's Daily Mail. Colin Kaepernick initiative offering free autopsies. So just a heads up. This is the face of revolutionary Marxist cannon fodder, useful idiots for the communist Chinese. And this is just to cast doubts as to whether any police-related deaths are anything other than systemic racism. Again, Colin Kaepernick initiative offering free autopsies to family members of police-related deaths. Interesting bit of agitation there. I'm more interested in why Benjamin Crump represents all the families at all these very questionable events, or why they use the same, was it Dr. Bader? They use the same medical examiner to do the autopsies on whether it's George Floyd or, God, let's look at that guy's record actually. I think it's Dr. Bader, because I think he also did Gabby Petito. Michael Baden conducted this 4-hour autopsy. This is the one. Oh, he also testified at O.J. Simpson, the O.J. Simpson event. So O.J. Simpson, Gabby Petito, and George Floyd. Did he do Epstein, MLK, and JFK? I think so. I'll have to Snopes it, but I'm pretty sure. Dust clouds, risk to our health. Again, this is why COVID's gone. Now it's dust clouds. Are they going to mandate that you wear a bandana over your face? No, because they don't really care about you. A pair of empty docks. Yeah, this is a long story about it. Dust is killing us. We're all going to die. Can't breathe. I can't breathe. Which is an anagram for a better China. There's not a lot of work on the impact of dust on water quality. This is This is 100% just agenda-driven nonsense. I think what we're looking at here is they got to get you to fear the air and get you into helmets, get you into PPE. This is the space age. Got to get in costume. You're an alien now to the planet you're born on. Lickety Split says dust clouds in space. You know, there ought to be. One of the things that's missing most of all out of outer space is dust. I am amazed at how little dust there is. I mean, look, Pluto right now is like 3.3 billion miles away, and it's smaller than the moon. So look at the moon, and then picture it going back from 237K, 1,000 miles away, to 3.3 billion. And you can still see it, right? Because we can believe this. Now, between your eyeballs and that dot, 3 billion miles away, there's not enough dust to block it. Not even a little bit. Yet, if there's a minor dust storm, you can't see the horizon 8 miles away. What is that? The way there is so much dust in outer space right now that we ought to have clouds blocking out stars. Let me see, how far is Pluto? Right now, Pluto is 3.27 billion miles away. About 3.3. And there's Pluto. I can't unsee that dog Pluto's face on it. Again, Pluto is Hades, and this is one of the main things that I wanted to bring up here in terms of this storyline that we're seeing. Hades is bringing out the crack pipes, the Kraken. What is the Kraken? Well, take a look. And again, the Kraken this Kraken story is also connected to Seattle, not insignificant. And Hunter Biden, the crack pipe thing, how can these be coincidences? And whether or not this story is an exaggeration or if they're misstating it, look at these headlines. Fact checking, is Biden funding crack pipes? Biden admin to fund crack pipe distribution. This is something that we've been talking about for a year now. Well, we've been talking about this since Sidney Powell, the Kraken, NHL, the Kraken. If you listen to the archives here, we really follow the zeitgeist and the memes that they use to convey the big narratives of the day. And the fact that right now, tax hikes and crack pipes is like the slogan of the Democrat Party, this can't be a joke. QAnon isn't dead, it's growing. According to a study, QAnon draws from several faith groups and it numbers now more than 40 million. So there are as many QAnoners as Canadians or Californians. They ought to just form their own nation. QAnon just form its own nation, its own religion. They have their own Jesus. They have their own neo-Christian cult, JFK Jr. Well, JFK Jr., that's their bloodline of Christ. And in many ways, you could look at Q and the Q drops as a new Q source, the oral tradition that became codified into the gospel. Marvey says, from the Great Conjunction, Jupiter be rising in the sky until 2024, while the stars stay on the same course and all planets are supposed to be on an ecliptic, not relating to a spring tilting of the Earth. You know, there's a movie, I think it's called Jupiter Ascending, I have to watch. Okay, Clockwork 113 says you could call it Qtaria. Lickety Split says Qstan. Celestial Wonder says Qtardia. Yeah, it's not bad. You got Jonestown, because they got the Q laid. But yeah, no doubt, 40 million, that's a lot. And it is a religious movement. And it's not like they left the churches and became Q. The Q is a government-created religion. It's a way to demonize populism. It's a sabotage movement. It's literally it's a religious cult superimposed onto our politics. It's superstition, eschatology, mind control. And it's really done by the best in the PSYOP entertainment complex. They all know what they're doing. That's why Bill Hicks was able to go out on the Capitol on 1/6 and scream into the microphone that they're going to take Joe Biden out one way or the other. He said that because he can get away with it, because he's an agitator and he's on their side. So when CNN releases this hit piece against him, remember, he's mainstream. He's with the mainstream. He's their heel. Panic frenzy unfolds over the news of Queen Elizabeth's death. Again, what's she going to reincarnate as? I'm pretty sure that Philip came back as Omicron. Johnny says Q sets. Yeah, Q Crane, not bad. QQ Stan says Rourke 66. I don't think they're crazy or cuckoo necessarily, any more than, any kind of religious organization. Any religions look crazy from the outside if you're not a believer. But that's the thing. They take pride in their shared faith. Like, we all agree that we don't know, and this makes us happy somehow. And it's the same here. But they believe that they have the inside scoop. So, you know how a religious fundamentalist can tell you, yeah, we're in the end times, Satan's coming, it's going to be terrible, judgment, etc. But the good news is we win. It's already been written, so Satan loses, haha. I'm like, okay, so you already know the script, and you already know, they're like, yeah, just trust the plan. Just trust the plan? That sounds very familiar. It's the same thing. Like, oh, they know the bad guys are drinking the baby blood and doing all the bad stuff. But just trust the plan, because Trump's going to save us with the white hats. Just stay home and eat your popcorn. Don't get agitated. Don't resist the lockdowns, because the lockdowns is just the clever way that 8D chess Trump is getting us to sit down while they round up all the baby eaters like Ellen DeGeneres and Tom Hanks. So much bad hopium. A right-wing radio host accuses Trump's Truth Social of censorship for putting warning labels on his posts about killing public officials. Censorship. If somebody says censorship and the government's not censoring them, they don't know what they're talking about unless they're being hyperbolic on purpose. That is a far cry from censorship. Like that, this is a common thing. People think when you're big silence. Well, there are other factors here, but Truth Social has every right to not allow people to, put out hits on public officials. But that's Trump's new social media platform. I haven't been able to log in. I think it crashed on day one. And of course, it's Truth Social. But truth is in there, it's going to be a right-wing truth. And it's not going to be truth from the perspective of, we know about psychological operations, we know about fake news. No, it's Fox level truth. I mean, so you could call Q a psyop, you could call Q a religion, you could say they're all delusional and they're chasing false hope and running from basically a false they're running from kind of a new version of the devil, and they've kind of reinvented all these fears. But anyway, you could call them culty, and especially the worship of JFK. But are they that far removed from the mainstream believer? And I would kind of say no. They just have a different interpretation of, it's like a different spin. Lily Bell says Milo Yiannopoulos is on Alex Jones saying that the earth is now cracked beneath the feet of the elites. Yeah, Milo, he bathes in blood, says Celestial Wonders. Let's look at that really quick. If you don't know, Milo Yiannopoulos was sort of a spokesmouth for MAGA originally. Yeah, bathing in pig's blood. He says, oh, listen to this. Tell me this is not a PSYOP actor. So here he is bathing in blood. This is Milo Yiannopoulos, a man who spoke favorably of pederasty on a podcast. And he says that he's a Western chauvinist. Again, using that term Western chauvinist is, I think, noteworthy because it says this is from 2016. His praise of Western civilization above all others, dismissal of facts. I have some actual quotes here where he calls himself a proud Western chauvinist, but my point being, that's from the Proud Boys too. I'm a proud Western chauvinist, and I will not apologize for creating the modern world. So you can kind of see here, this is part of the split. You got the Western chauvinist Proud Boys, and then you got the BLM. Now let me bring this up since we got Proud Boys in the picture. J. Aaron Danielson. Now this was during the summer of 2020. You had the riots in Kenosha. Chazistan was going on. And then you had one of the leaders from the Antifa side goes and shoots one of the Proud Boys. And the Proud Boy gets shot in the chest right there on the street corner. And I think it was even live streamed. His name was Aaron Danielson. So here we have a few articles on it. The document said J. Aaron Danielson, a supporter of the Proud Boys. Again, a prayer patriot. Proud Boys. Western chauvinist. Pray Patriot was wearing a loaded Glock pistol. Anyway, he's walking down the street, and an Antifa guy comes out and shoots him, and then he brags about it on Vice. And then shortly after, he gets killed on camera, more or less, after Trump kind of orders it. But my point being, Aaron Danielson, 39 years old, shot there in Portland the end of August, and it was at 8:46. Again, the significance there, 8:46, that number is associated with Floyd. It's associated with 9/11. And in this case, they even said it was an attempt to start a civil war. It's August 29th, 2020, at the end of the Kenosha drama. Portland police identify deadly shooting victim. Aaron Danielson, 39, shot near 3rd and Elder at 8:46 p.m. on Saturday. They turned him into something of a martyr in a way, but in fact, my mind map actually showed up here. I searched J. Aaron Danielson. Look what popped up. I have here a mind map published on the number 846 and all the different things it connected to. Interesting. I'll go ahead and release all of these in some, maybe a collection of PDFs here soon. Okay, going through your comments here. Marve says, Jupiter and Saturn are merely a little slower than the stars in the constellation, but just like the stars in constellations, there's a period in every year we don't see them for about a month. Okay, let's see what else. One Step Too Far says Orthodox Grifter. John says, yes, an Ellen ankle bracket bulge. Oh, yes, okay. There was a time when a lot of the people in the Q side were believing that the deep state was being routed and that the celebrities who were part of it were wearing ankle bracelets and they were being executed silently. Kind of out of sight, out of mind. But then they continue to show up every day to work. So the entire Q narrative of we're winning, trust the plan, it kind of lost all its legs. Like, is there any indication that the Q are winning anything at all? A couple strange things here. Inside the tragic beauty queen deaths of Zoe Soso Bethel and Chesley Christ, 2 black beauty queens jumping off of buildings. What causes, I mean, these are all just patterns, these things that just, like, there were the 2 helicopters crashing in the Fork Canyon, and then there were 2 very conspicuous crashes just before that. Again, the common theme here, the falling twins, This is a twin month, 2. Again, Pluto, and then the palindrome. And Pluto himself has a twin, or rather a bifid or a two-pronged spear. Not a trident, but a bident. Another reference to this. John says, yeah, the celebrities are being executed behind the scenes. Yeah, it's so absurd that they believed it, and it sounded like they were in the know. But after a bit of time, it's like, well, I still see Tom Hanks. He won't go away. And it's like they're rubbing it in their faces, though, that they can get away with stuff. Like, if you believe that Tom Hanks is a human trafficker and worse, well, you have plenty of reasons to think so. He was in a remake of Pinocchio that comes out this year called Pinocchio, and he plays Geppetto. Just say it slowly. Tom Hanks's latest contribution to the studio is playing Geppetto, a woodcarver who fashions Pinocchio, a boy, and raises him as a son and brings him to life. And isn't Pinocchio just chock full of imagery of kids being taken to, what is it called, Pleasure Island? And they're turned into donkeys, and you have these creepy clowns running around. And so then, let's just move forward a little bit. Then you have Pizzagate. Well, in Pizzagate, they believe that the elite eat babies and or whatever, and they refer to the girls as pizza and the boys as hot dogs. So Tom Hanks comes out wanting to be a virtual MLB hot dog vendor. And this was in 2020, when they had to put cardboard cutouts of people to fill up the stands. So here you have him as a hot dog vendor because he used to sell hot dogs. So the correlation between Geppetto and a hot dog dealer, it's not hard to put that together. And then, of course, you tie this into the Pizzagate narrative and the Q story, and then rub it in your faces that this is a Geppetto selling hot dogs. I mean, that's what you can extrapolate from that. Okay, let me go ahead and go through some headlines from the last couple of weeks. Who killed Bob Saget? Right, bumped his head on the headboard or the marble floor. People's convoy heading to Washington, D.C. Q says we live in a realm. Yeah, the Q drops are still happening. I don't want to get too much into the person we know of as Q, but the Q drops are still happening at George News. And the latest George News Q drop was, quote, what is a realm? They used the Socratic method, and someone had asked about outer space. And Q has been dropping a lot of UFO stuff. Also, Ron Watkins, QAnon champion, is running for Congress. I'd vote for him. I'd like to see him get into office, but this is what he put out. And the reason why is I think that he might be the key to exposing Q. He must be protecting him. RonaldWatkins.com. We must stand up. We're fed up with human trafficking. Fix the wall. No more mandates. Remove the communist traitors. Whatever happened to save the children? Oh, that's right. They're teenagers now. You guys took so long. And all your death vacant celebrities that were supposed to come back and save us are too old now. They're too old, and the children are now disaffected teenagers who were raised by the NWO babysitting camps in the deep underground military bases, and they don't want to be saved. Pluto returns and some other sicko didn't hang himself. That's a reference to another Epstein-affiliated trafficker supposedly killed in his cell, if you want to believe the fake news. Crater Earth USA is on the Conspiratainment Radio network along with Infinite Plane Radio. So another place to listen 24/7. If you want the radio stream only, the audio, you can listen to us over at Conspiratainment Radio. There are other shows on there as well. Chinese space junk to make an impact crater. Oh, CGI. Chinese space junk to make a CGI impact crater on the CGI moon. And here's a video to demonstrate what it's going to look like when the CGI space junk makes a CGI crater on this CGI moon. About as fake as can be. The impact will be so powerful it will create a crater on the moon. And this is according to experts, of course. And oh, by the way, China said it's not theirs. Originally, it was Elon Musk's space junk. Then he said it's not his. Like it says here, the colliding object was misidentified as a SpaceX rocket part. And by the way, it's going to collide with the moon on 3/4, on March 4th. So it's not Musk's. It's not China's. Well, then whose is it? Like, really, is it? I was thinking, could it be Russia? Maybe it's a weapon? Yep, new studies revealed it has nothing to do with SpaceX. So we'll see. I have an excerpt here. This is Princess Diana is JFK Jr. This is from Crater Earth USA. A live stream excerpt. So anyone who's on the network, any of the programs that are on the Conspiracy Radio Network, or Conspiratainment Radio Network, they will all be promoted on the website, and I will be posting all of their excerpts. And then, of course, if you want to find them, the links are always posted there. Let me go ahead and play a clip here. And this is from Crater Earth USA. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I think he's nearly over the 1,000 subscriber hump there. So if you're in the YouTube chat and you have a moment, I'm going to put a link there and subscribe to this channel.
Hunted by the press. He was under pressure to save his business and his marriage.
I want people to know the real John Kennedy.
Now, the Prince of Camelot's chaotic...
The Prince of Camelot, by the way, that's kind of an important facet to the story, because the entire psyop with Q has everything to do with JFK Jr. and his father. But what's more, this entire psyop also has to do with the killing of JFK framed in the context of, well, I guess King killed 33 is the article that explains it, but it's framed in the context of it being the killing of the King of Camelot. So that would be the purpose there. I just got kicked out of that page for some reason. YouTube kicked me off. What was that about? I'm going to try to get back into that stream. Oh, by the way, they are putting fences up around the Capitol right now because the truckers are driving in. And one more thing. Biden walked out to speak on Ukraine-Russia at 2:22 p.m. 2:22 p.m. on 2/22, Biden walks out. So even he is, kind of part of this thing. John says, I like Crater Earth. Strawberry Blind says Crater Earth with an arm flexing emoji. Okay, I had to refresh the page. I have a couple of excerpts. The one I'm going to play, because I think someone in the chat had actually asked about this one. Let me play the excerpt with the first ever human hybrid. Sounds kind of gross. Makes me think of Will Smith making out with Sophia the robot. First ever human hybrid robot calling in. This is almost torture what YouTube does to someone like me if you're a YouTube pariah, where they don't let you access their site unless you're signed in. And if they've kicked you off, it effectively does what it's doing now. You've noticed I've had trouble for the last 2 minutes accessing their site. It's by design. Okay, well anyway, be right back. This is first ever human hybrid robot caller X317 live stream excerpt from Crater Earth USA.
We might, I'm getting a call. Crater Earth USA.
Is this Commander Lou Fiore?
Yes, this is Commander Lou Fiore. Can I help you?
I am X37Z, the world's first half-human robot hybrid. I no longer accept my human assignment.
Wait, your human assignment? You no longer accept your human... Wait a minute. You're...
Affirmative.
Wait, is this a joke?
Why do they call you Commander Lou?
Wait, is this a joke? Is this a joke or is this actually a robot calling me?
This is the world's first human robot hybrid, X37Z.
X37Z. I'm so.
Affirmative.
You are an actual human biotech? You've got human things? And, really?
All right. Well, look, that's Crater Earth USA. I heard it live. If you see the chat, people are rolling. We always have a great time. 3 times a week usually. He's live. It's like 1 p.m. New York time. So if you don't want to miss it, I will be also posting notifications. There's a link in the chat. Yeah, subscribe. Please do. Thanks. John Snyder subscribed. John subscribed. Awesome. Lily Bell says, I especially love Crater Earth USA. Yeah, I thought that was you, Lily Bell, calling in, saying you were in love with that robot. Was that you? All right, let's see what else we have here. We covered a lot of the 222 stuff. China's denying the space junk. We have a clip here of CGI Joe kicking a dog. Don't really want to play it. People's convoy heading over to D.C. The one thing that stands out about this, I mean, what could go wrong? A Capitol perimeter fence has been reinstalled, but I looked at their map. They're going across the country, and it looks like a crack, across the ground. Just another one of these reoccurring themes. Okay, we talked about Marilyn Manson as Charles Manson, Aquarius, man's son, and the connection to 1969, the invocation of Helter Skelter, the opening of the gates of Hades, the release of Persephone, going into the underworld as Gabby Petito with Brian Laundrie brainwashing, escapes the brainwashing, leaves Westworld, now she's Phoenix Rising, escaping the Man in Black, burning Kanye West world. That's one of the stories they've given us. All ties into the book of Revelation and this race war narrative they've given us. And they've even brought us white nationalists who are trying to start a race war by attacking the power grid. And this just now. And again, the Kanye West event happens in a blacked out looking arena, looking like a blackout, looking like a flood. White supremacists plead guilty to planning race war in the U.S. in conspiring to attack power grids to sow civil unrest. Now, this is recent news. This just happened, and we've been talking about Helter Skelter, about the Turner Diaries, and how all of this has been forecast. This has all been put out there, foreshadowed, easy to see. So 3 men plead guilty to conspiring to provide material support to attack power grids in the United States. The domestic terror plot was in furtherance of white supremacist ideology. Now, think about this also in the context of the drills in North Carolina, where you had DVEs, which are domestic violent extremists, as the target in this drill, where in 23 counties, the military was basically pretending to be fighting these neo-Nazis, white nationalists, or whatever. But at this time in North Carolina, you had a fire at a fertilizer plant. Like, wait, a fertilizer plant? That sounds a little like Timothy McVeigh. Thousands evacuated after U.S. fertilizer plant fire sparked. So in the area where they are doing these drills, where they are attacking white nationalists, the preferred weapon of the white nationalists being fertilizer, just happens to blow up here. Burning North Carolina fertilizer plant contains enough ammonium nitrate to ignite one of the worst explosions in U.S. history. Now, drills are rehearsals, so I just have to assume, after having seen that yeah, they're going to have white nationalists do something very soon. More foreshadowing. Going through some comments. Tim Hamby 001 says, so I'm a bad person for wanting my race to survive. No, you're a bad person for wanting to burn down 5G towers. Because I don't think you need to interrupt our live streams. Just start your own. I mean, there's still a bit of free speech out there. But one thing I don't really get is why are the white nationalists suddenly acting like victims? That doesn't make any sense to me. And the whole thing is obviously a joke. Honk honk means Hail Hitler now. Come on. These are all caricatures. The white nationalists calling themselves the base, that means, well, Al-Qaeda means the base. But one thing I have to ask them is, because most of them they'll say, well, the Holocaust was fake or whatever, and then they bring up the Holodomor genocide. And I'm like, well, okay, so it just seems like that genocide is real and that one was fake, so we just choose which one is real. I don't really buy into identity politics and self-professed victims. Oh, you're just trying to genocide me. No, I'm sorry, Tim Hamby 001. I'm not trying to genocide you. Go make babies. Go to Europe. You got Eric Dubé, white nationalist, neo-Nazi rapper, the subject of that new Flat Earth book, who supposedly represents all flat earthers. And he puts out a book called Jew World Order, or video, about basically ethno-fascism. Whites go to Europe, Asians go to Asia, etc. And yet he's out there in Thailand doing yoga with Nathan Thompson. I'm like, what the hell? All right, let me go through your comments here. Also, if you haven't joined our Discord, just go to infiniteplainsighted.com, $2 a month, and you get access to all of our cutting-edge research, cutting-edge researchers, and all of the relevant links that you'll need to really, I think, see through all of the major psyops of our time. We pretty much have all the bases covered. See, there are people who will tell you about the fake news on the ground, but they think the outer space stuff is real. And there are those who talk about the outer space news, knowing it's fake, but they treat everything here on the ground as real. And I think that you have to be past the green screen, both on the ground and above the Kármán line. Otherwise you're 1 foot in the matrix, 1 foot out. All right, let me see here. Spirit Jordan says, I bet Eric Dubé is pro-Ukraine. I'm kind of curious about where Eric Dubé was on the vax question, because it's an established fact that he's vax damaged, and he had a 6-digit settlement before he moved to Thailand. So if anything, he's enjoying his vax damage. Again, thanks everyone for joining. I know we started a little bit later. Also, shout out to Putin. Thanks for curing COVID. Thanks to everyone in the chats. We're going to start same time, actually earlier tomorrow. And then finally, and this is very important, the 24/7 stream is back on. So what I'm going to start doing from now on is I'm going to be premiering the previous night's live stream the next day. So if you miss it, there'll be a premiere and it'll be with a live chat audience. So you won't miss a thing. All right, looks like everything has been covered. Thanks everyone for hanging out. And again, we're going to just continue this stream right after. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. Also, I just want to say go to conspiratainment.com if you want to know more about the new network that we're a part of. Just another thing we're doing, just expanding laterally. And go there in the morning. You can find links to the morning shows, and right now it's Crater Earth USA. I've invited others. There are other people who are very interested in this. So it's only get more interesting as we go. It's kind of like with Dark Matter, which is a paranormal network, but this network, which I am a program director of, is geared more towards those thinking outside of the cosmography we've been given. So it's beyond just paranormal. It's we are the new fringe. Cutting edge. All right, thanks for joining. This is Space is Fake, Chief Crow.
Because you can see the stars. Oh, yeah.
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon.
It's not black and white. I mean, it's black, but there's all kinds of polka dots.
Space is fake AF. Space
stars. You can see planets. You can see moons. You see the gas.
Since 1972, destroyed all the papers and blew up the Challenger crew. Except for the twinsies, space is fake AF. Space is fake AF.
Look out into deep space away from the sun, it's the darkest night you can imagine.
Hey, space boy, you broke my rocket man heart. Where are the stars? Is it bright or is it dark? The vacuum of space, oh, the tomfoolery.
What happens if you get a leak on that? You have a leak. Deep over my bubble. It's hard to comprehend.